I gathered all your ratings from the last video, averaged them, and got the highest score.
No.
What?
No, Luke.
Dr. Detail? You know my name isn't Luke. Remember your training. You had viewers rate the images on an ordinal scale that went from 1 to 9. Taking the arithmetic mean of an ordinal scale can give you bad results. Oh. Well, I guess I'll have to redo everything and then present the results. Welcome to Deep Sky Detail. All right, let's get into it. For the past couple of months, I've been running the Real Intelligence Challenge to determine who can process my data the best without using artificial intelligence tools. I'll reveal who won and give feedback on a lot of the submissions. I had my viewers rate 4 finalists on a scale from 1 to 9, where 1 is poor and 9 is excellent. The problem, however, using this method is that it doesn't produce a single clear winner, as everyone could end up in a statistical tie. However, I think the benefits of doing it this way outweigh the negatives, because who knows, maybe all of them are equally good, and forcing people to choose one that's best would be unfair. So at first, I thought I could simply average the scores for each finalist and determine who had the overall highest rating. But then I remembered a paper by Torin Little and John Krushke titled Analyzing Ordinal Data with Metric Models: What Could Possibly Go Wrong? And the authors argue that taking a simple average of original data, like the rating system I used in the Real Intelligence Challenge, could distort the results. Essentially, a finalist might appear to have a higher score, but due to the nature of the scale itself, the true difference could be obscured by statistical noise. It's kind of like a satellite interfering with one of your subframes. Once that happens, you can't be sure of the pixel values in the affected area. So I won't dive into the full details of the statistical models that I used, but I'll explain the basic idea behind how I got the results that I did. So first, let's consider a simple example. Imagine we have 3 numbers, 11, 10, and 9. The average is 10, meaning the arithmetic mean. And you can think of the arithmetic mean as a seesaw, where the middle represents the arithmetic mean and the individual numbers sit at different points along the seesaw. The distance from the center is what we call a deflection. For example, 11 is 1 unit above the mean and 9 is 1 unit below. These deflections, a +1 and a -1, sum to 0, keeping the seesaw balanced. This is true with any arithmetic mean, no matter how complicated it is. So this is the same principle that I used in the statistical model. However, the statistical model tries to estimate the true average quality of the submissions in a more sophisticated way than just using the arithmetic mean. But it gets deflection estimates just like you see with an arithmetic mean. There's a grand average, and each final image gets a deflection estimate, which shows how much higher or lower it scored above the grand average. If one finalist has a significantly positive deflection, they are likely the true winner. Another interesting outcome is that, just like with the seesaw analogy, we might see one finalist pulling far ahead while the others balance out on the opposite side of the scale. Or we might see 2 finalists on one side and 2 finalists on the other, meaning we'd have co-winners. Or all the finalists might score close enough to the average that they're all statistically equal winners. So which is it? Beyond just identifying the winner, the model also provides confidence levels, which tell us how certain we can be that one of the finalists truly outperformed the others. For example, I received about 40 responses. It's possible that through some sort of sampling error, the winner would not have won if there were 500 responses. So if 2 scores seem close, the model helps determine whether the difference is statistically credible or if we're just looking at a tie. I'll put more information on my Buy Me a Coffee page for members if they'd like to know more. So I guess it's time to get coding. The best way I know how to do this is in R, using Monte Carlo methods and Bayesian statistics. It's going to take some effort, but I've worked through the approach and I'm excited to see the results. If you're enjoying this, I'd appreciate a like on the video. I'd also like to point out that the raw individual scores agreed with the statistics, so there's no really weird caveats here. So it turns out we have a three-way tie for second place. Congratulations to finalist 17 UT, finalist U9 6E, finalist WQQH. You all produce great images as reflected in the final scores given by the viewers. However, one finalist stood out, scoring about 0.65 points higher on the 1 to 9 scale than the others. And I'm about 98.3% confident that his score was better than the other finalists. So you'll receive a Deep Sky Detail Bachtihoff mask, and congratulations to finalist LF57. You are the real intelligence champion, with a confidence level of about 98%. Very cool. Now let's go over some of the submissions. Okay, so first up, this is the honorable mention. This was done by Piotr from Astrophotography Lab. And I thought this was actually a great image. And I think the reason I think it's a great image is because it's very similar to how I think I process the image. It's very nice. You get this nice outer glow. It's apparent to me that Piotr used the luminance data in his processing, which makes the galaxy stand out a little bit more from the background. As I mentioned in the previous video, the stars here are kind of corrected. He had a very interesting way of correcting the stars in GIMP so that they didn't have the elongation that we saw. I was very impressed. I'll leave the link again to the video so that you can see it. The HA data comes through quite nicely. The star color is nice. Again, the stars themselves are nice. Again, this one got an honorable mention, so good job, Piotr. So let's go ahead and go to the next submission. So this is submission 2. I'll put the names of the first names of the submitters in the bottom of this video, but this was a good submission as well. Brought out a lot of the luminance data, which is nice. I think that the HA data came through really nicely. Some of the stars are a little bit, maybe a little bit over sharpened, but in general, I'm pleased with the image. I think the image is very good. Looks like there is some noise reduction done in the background, and it kind of made a little bit of like a blotchy background, which is fine. And this is just my personal opinion. I'd rather see an image that is a little bit overstretched, where we see some more detail in the fainter parts, and it be a little bit noisier in the background than when that kind of hides the detail. But again, nice image, very good. So let's go ahead into the next submission. Okay, so this is the third submission. I think it's a really nice submission too. The star color is nice. The galaxy core is nice, it's brought out, it's nice and bright. I do like that. The stars are a little bit over sharp, so I understand like with the Real Intelligence Challenge, you cannot remove the stars and then put them back in. And so I'm actually okay with the stars being a little bit over sharpened in a lot of these images, because it kind of makes the galaxy a little bit crisper. Having said that, I think it kind of goes to show you how far astrophotography processing has come in the past few years, where you can remove the stars, sharpen the nebula or the galaxy that you're interested in, and put the stars back in and not have to worry about it. But again, I think this is a great image. One thing I think is the background is very dark, which is fine. I think this is just personal preference. I may have left it a little bit lighter. I don't necessarily mind it. It just does clip the outer part of the galaxy a little bit, so you don't see that little bit of the halo in the galaxy. And I think this is just personal preference, to be honest. Great submission, wonderful. So let's go on to the next one. Okay, the next submission, again, nice image. What really pops out is the hydrogen alpha in this image. I'm really sort of impressed of how many nebulae you can actually see in the galaxy. I wasn't able to bring that much detail out, but I think it's great. I think maybe one thing as well. The star colors are nice. I do like a little bit of a halo around the stars sometimes. I feel like it gives the stars a little bit more color. It doesn't bother me. My data are not perfect. My stars are not perfect. I'm using the data come from a doublet refractor. So there is a little bit of chromatic aberration, especially in the blue channel. Really nice image. Stars are controlled nicely. I don't think the stars are overly sharpened. I think they're fine. The galaxy is nice and sharp. I feel like there's a little bit too much blue on the outside of this halo in the galaxy, but it's not something that breaks the image. I think a lot of the color stuff is mostly personal preference. I've done videos on the fact that color isn't real anyway, so we shouldn't really worry about it. But it is very nice to see all of the pinkish red nebulae in the galaxy. I think this one brought it out very, very well. It's a great image. Now let's go up to the next submission. All right, yeah, this one I thought was very nice too. This one almost made it to be one of the finalists, and I can see why. Like the stars are crisp. I think the color is very natural looking. It's not too saturated. You can still see some of the nebulae in here. So if I look here, there's like good definition in the nebulae. There's a little bit of ringing around the stars, which I think is probably due to actually doing like deconvolution on the image. The galaxy core is nice. You see a lot of detail in the dust in the galaxy arms. Again, this one, I think what probably held it back was just a little bit of the ringing. Maybe, I don't know, I feel this is a very pleasing image. The outer part of the galaxy is also there, and you can see it. And I think that's really kind of difficult to do a lot of times in processing, especially when you can't remove the stars, don't have access to like a lot of AI tools. Again, this one almost made it as a finalist. I think it's a very pleasing image. I think maybe what held it back was that, maybe there wasn't enough color in the actual galaxy itself. But having said that, I kind of like it, a little bit more white, it gives it more of like a glowy feel. Yes, very pleasing image, great job. So this next image, great image, one of the finalists. If you recall how this worked, it was I had 4 independent raters rate it, the 4 highest moved on to the finalists, and then you all judged who would win. I think this is also a great image. One thing that I think is really kind of nice about it is like the stars aren't overly sharpened, or they're not reduced so much by sharpening, and I think that's fine. I think that's a good look. I think the star color is nice. I like the orange star here. The core has a nice color. You have the HA coming through. It is a little bit noisy in the background, but I don't think it's distracting. If we zoom in, there's just a little bit of color noise. It's not bad. Again, one of the finalists, a great image. You guys were able to vote on it. It scored very well, both the sort of initial ratings as well as the final ratings that you, the viewers, rated things on. If we look at the stars are actually kind of well controlled as well. Great image. Again, we have the HA coming through. It's very subtle. The HA isn't overstretched in the image, which is very nice. And you can almost, you can still see the nebulae, and it's very subtle. Let's go ahead and go to the next one. All right, this one, again, another finalist, great image. I feel like the star color looks really natural. The spiral arms kind of stand out, pop out a little bit, which I like here. So you can see like this spiral arm pops out. You can see the faint halo around the galaxy. The core is processed really nicely. The background has very little noise, and it's very smooth. There is a little bit of color noise, but overall it's not bad. I'm just very impressed with what everyone was able to do without having AI noise reduction tools or AI sharpening tools. These are very nice images. Okay, let's go to the next image. This is the third finalist that we're going to look at. The other 2 finalists also tied for second place, and this one tied for second place as well. Nice image, going the other direction compared to the others, which is nice. I think that's the way that I did it. But again, it's space, so you don't have to do it. The orientation doesn't matter so much. Again, star color is nice. The galaxy is a little bit pinkish, which to me means that a lot more of the HA data maybe was included in the RGB, which is fine. It's perfectly fine. I kind of like the pinkish color. The core is a good natural color. You can see the nebulae in the spiral arms. The background is nice and smooth. The stars are well controlled and not overly sharpened. Great image. I'm not surprised it's a finalist. It was one of the finalist images and tied for second. It's just a great image. Let's move on to the next one. All right, this is the next image. Again, a great image. I thought everything was very well done. One thing that if I were to point out is that the stars are a little bit over sharpened. It almost looks like a star mask was used and the stars were reduced using the star mask a little bit, using like a road filter or something in GIMP. Everything else is nice. You see a lot of the sort of dark nebulae in the galaxy itself, which I didn't see in some of the others. I think that's kind of very difficult to bring out. A lot of this sort of darker dust. You still have the HA. The color is a little bit different than the others, which is a little bit, more on the purplish side, which I think is fine. Like, I'm not going to criticize anybody for their choice in color. I think color is very subjective in astrophotography, even when you're working with LRGB data. I think the galaxy looks nice. The spiral arms look nice. It's a good image. And if I was just going to make one recommendation, it would be to try to avoid over sharpening the stars. And again, that can be very hard to do without, StarNet or Star Exterminator or another sort of star removal tool. Again, great image. I'm glad it was submitted. Okay, this was the winner, actually. We've still got a couple more submissions after this. I'm just doing these in random order. So this was the winner. Great image. I think what made this image stand out was the way that they framed the image. So like with the others, you would have the galaxy and you could see all of the background stars, and it was sort of a more wide field view. He took a little bit of creative license and cropped it in, and then did a really good job at actually processing the image. And we can see the HA data pop out. You can really see where all the nebulae are. The spiral arm is nice and sharp. You can see the different spiral arms going into the center of the core of Messier 33. I think stars can be really pretty. Maybe that's an unpopular opinion. And I don't think that the stars distract from the image. They add to this like very powerful image of Messier 33. I don't know exactly how to describe it, but this is like an in-your-face image. Great image. Background is controlled nicely. If we zoom in, it's a little bit noisy, but like I don't think that noise is distracting, especially when you are looking at it like this, zoomed out. Nico Carver had a video talking about is astrophotography art, and he talked about how, in astrophotography we have certain degrees of freedom that we can play with, like rotation and field of view and things like that. And I think what this image does really well is it accentuates the galaxy. I think that's part of the reason that it won, is that it made the galaxy the most important part of the image. Has good color balance. The galaxy is sharpened really well. Congratulations, this is the winner. Okay, let's go on to the next one. This is the second to last image that I'm going to show. Great image. I think what's really nice is that this one is not overstretched. And I know that a lot of people like that. Like, they don't like overstretching an image. Again, I'm not opposed to overstretching the image as long as you can see sort of the fainter details. But like, I can still see the fainter details in this image compared to the actual background. And I think, I think it looks great. And one thing that's nice about not overstretching an image is you don't get as much of the noise and the blotchiness that you would get otherwise. Or you won't have to like use so much aggressive noise reduction, which without AI tools can make things look a little bit blotchy otherwise. And so again, star color is nice. The stars are controlled very well. I think this could have easily been a finalist as well, as could most of the images that have been presented today. And I think that the differences between many of these images are just very subtle processing tweaks that you can make that can really like make your processing go from good to great to really great. I thought this was one of better images in my opinion as well. Having said that, this is kind of how I would process it anyway. So like, again, I am biased. Like, know this, that like all my opinions are also biased, and you may have different opinions than me, and that's fine. And let me know in the comments what you think that I got wrong, or what you like better, or what you might disagree with me sort of in how I'm evaluating the images. Okay, let's just go to the final. So this is the final image I'm going to show you. I thought this one was very good. The colors are very bright, vibrant. That's like the first thing that sticks out at me. Some people might be turned off by that. I'm not. Again, I think that color is very subjective. The star color is nice. The stars are controlled very well. The background is pretty nice. This person also submitted a version where they did use AI tools, and that was a great image as well. Honestly, I liked this version better for whatever reason. That's just my opinion. But the person who submitted it mentioned that it might be good to have like 2 brackets or like two parts of a challenge where people can submit 2 images, one without artificial intelligence and one with artificial intelligence. And then later on, we can go into it and see how much better is an AI processed image than an image that isn't processed by AI. Great image. One thing that I think I would maybe have a recommendation on, and again, this is just my personal opinion, is that the galaxy looks a little bit flat, and maybe there's a little bit too much stretching of the outer halo. I know in this video I've said I like it when I see that. There's a little bit too much similarity in these brightness values from the halo all the way into the inner part of the galaxy. And again, this is just personal preference. Maybe I would have liked to see it a little bit less stretched in this part of the histogram, so that it has a little more gentle fade between the core of the galaxy into the background. But having said that, like, I think it's a great image. It's a beautiful image. I do like the colors. I do like the background. The image is very sharp. It's not too sharp. Great image. This has been the Real Intelligence Challenge version 1. Let me know what modifications you would make if I were going to do this again. Also, let me know if you'd like a Real Intelligence Challenge where half of the challenge is to submit an image that doesn't use AI and the other half is to submit an image with AI, and then we can compare. I think that'd be really cool. Let me know what you think in the comments. Just want to let you know that the Real Intelligence Challenge data are still up on GitHub. You can still download it and process it. And I've got a tutorial on how I processed using only free software. So if you're just getting into astrophotography and you want to learn how to process some monochrome data to make a color image, this might be a good place to start. Again, this is the winner. Great image. All the images that were submitted I thought were outstanding. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.